What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back again with another live stream for you guys. Spurs beat Leeds at Ellen Road 2-1 to end the international break hoodoo, which lasted almost 2 years, or I think over 2 years. Absolutely fantastic to finally break that curse. Here with Brian Daigle for the day after stream. Yep. We're going to talk about the game yesterday, play ratings. We got reacts, how the internet reacted to what happened yesterday. We'll start off with the game, Brian. Look, Spurs, tough away day, going to Leeds away. Obviously, we went through the whole game yesterday, but just talking in general, how you saw the performance, off the back of some disappointing performances against the likes of Boda, against Wolves, albeit coming back from losing position to get a draw, showing good mentality. Yesterday was a really, it was all set up for us to kind of slip up, wasn't it? And we didn't. Even though we took the lead and got a setback, we made sure we didn't let that get to us, and we ended up with 3 points.
I mean, first of all, it's going to be another day of positive, Bri. I'm loving being so positive. You look at it, like you said, international curse lifted. If you look at it, early kick-off, which has been our downfall as well, but we did it against Manchester City, we did it against Leeds, at a newly promoted, hostile ground, weather atrocious. All the ingredients were there for a Spursy recipe, weren't they? To say, right, we're gonna fall over, Dr. Tottenham. And there's been a lot of that when you look at it, especially the recent performances, Wolves and Bodo, which left a lot to be desired. And we went and got the job done. It was a very, very professional performance. And if you look at it from international break to international break, we've played 7 times, won 4, drawn 3, gone to the Arctic Circle to play a match. Obviously, the performance wasn't great, but if someone had said that at the international break, that we'll be here undefeated in this bit between the 2 international breaks, undefeated, in the top 4, obviously dependent on results that are going on elsewhere right now, and undefeated, everyone would have bitten your hands off for it, wouldn't it? It's just, like I said, it was a very professional performance yesterday. People were going on about the style isn't right there yet, but the main thing is to get those points on the board, keep this undefeated run going. And even Alan Shearer yesterday, well, obviously we saw the game live and we have our views on it. Watching Match of the Day yesterday, which I'm becoming accustomed to doing this season, and Shearer was very, very complimentary of what's going on at Spurs, how we're progressing, and how Frank is doing it. And there was just some wonderful bits at the end with Thomas Frank and the lads. So I am just delighted with everything going on at Spurs at the moment. I really am. Yeah, and I think I think the way the Frank has got us so tough to beat already. And it's got a kind of a very solid foundation. We're a very tough team to play against, aggressive, solid defensively. I think that's a credit to him. And obviously those are things that everyone was complaining about last season. Too easy to play against, too easy to create chances against, too easy to score against. And that has changed. Now, attacking-wise, that's clearly still a work in progress. But I think there were evidence of, again, a bit more fluidity yesterday, a bit more kind of not just relying on Kudus to attack. There was a few other avenues. I thought, Simmons or Doggy on the centre on the left-hand side, much more involved, much more threatening. We weren't just relying on basically just getting the ball to Kudus every time and see if he can do something. But we were still having that Kudus threat on top of, what we were having on the other elements of the pitch. But do you think yesterday we're starting to find the right balance when it comes to how we attack? Because on Wednesday against Boda, it was very difficult for us to do anything apart from when Kudus and Simmons came on late in the game. We got a couple of goals back. Against Wolves, we struggled to in the second half to create chances. But I think with Odebear, Simmons and Kudus behind a striker was tell on this occasion it's going to be Richarlison or whoever let it down the line. Do you think maybe that's the three he is right now is our first choice? It's tough to say. I mean, if you look at this, I was having this discussion with people yesterday, both on WhatsApp and Twitter, and they were obviously talking
about the front line and about last season and the injury woes and everything. And they're like, well, this season it's different because obviously we got Kudus and Simmons, two really, really big creators. And I was like, yeah, but we got the same defence. And last season we had Sonny, Kulu, Madders and Solanke. So there's 4 forward players that we haven't got this year. And if you look at what Frank's doing without a recognised established first choice left winger, without a target man or a prolific goal scorer, let's say up front, which Ange suffered with as well with Solanke and Richarlison, what he's doing right now is incredible. And obviously we know that he's got to sort that front line out. We know at the moment it's not packed with goals, but obviously Richarlison, who hadn't had the greatest games against Wolves and Bodo, but popped up with a goal of Bodo, which he knew nothing about. And a lot of people saying he needs a rest or drop him. He doesn't offer anything apart from if he's scoring. Well, he did that and he played Tell. And yes, it was Tell's best game, and yes, he got on the score sheet. But he's trying to fix that front line, isn't he? But as they say, and as George Graham used to do at Arsenal and what he tried to do at Spurs, is you sort that defence out and stop conceding, and then you start building. Because if you can shore up your defence, then you're on the right path to be able to go and express yourself. And yes, some of the play yesterday was a bit lethargic up top, but this game was about getting the 3 points, no matter how we did it, and we did that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, look, these away games, and they're not always easy.
No.
And even though they're a promoted team and you think you should be winning, Wolves, you saw with Wolves, who are pointless and bottom of the league, every game in this league, every team, they provide their own challenges and they're all tough to play against. And Leeds have been unbeaten at home.
Yep.
Even though a lot of it's been in the Championship, they've been unbeaten at home for over a year.
Yep.
So it's not an easy thing to go there, and especially when they get the crowd behind them, and we concede that equaliser out of nothing, and they're getting momentum. It's easier. It's not. It's hard. At those points, we've seen it before with previous Spurs teams. The games can get away from you. All of a sudden, you go from in control, and in a flash, out of nowhere, all of a sudden you've conceded, and the momentum's away from you, and the game can get away from you. And we didn't let that happen yesterday. And I think Frank managed the game really well. Substitutions, I think, right timing, change formation, just making sure at each step, just preventing Leeds from getting their way back in the game. They never really looked like they were going to equalise. They had a couple of moments, but I think Spurs defended quite well, near the end of the game. And that's something as well, I think, when we're in winning positions, you can say Frank has also done really well at. I think we've struggled at times, for example, when we're behind or stuff, really putting pressure on the opposition, albeit we have come back from a couple of losing positions. I think what he's done really good at, and he needs more credit, is when we're in winning positions, seeing those games out. He's done very well because we haven't conceded a single goal in the last 15 minutes of any game this season. Yeah. And so that is something that is not easy to instill in a team, that concentration for 90 minutes, never switching off. And I think I think we've looked fairly comfortable when we've been in winning positions late on in games, which is really vital.
Well, you know what? We sat here exactly this time last week, Sim, and we were speaking about how Frank got it wrong in the second half at Wolves, and they made a tactical change and he didn't react. Well, I think this is the first time since Manchester City, the 2-0 win in the second game, where he's reverted back to the 4-2-3-1, which I think we looked a lot more comfortable in compared to the 4-3-3. Simmons obviously started in the number 10, and rightly, as you said, and I was about to say, he certainly started making subs at the right time. And right at the death, when Leeds were creeping in, he did go to that back three and brought down Sehorn for that solidity. And as much as we were saying that he made a tactical error against Wolves, how we all felt, and I agreed with, he certainly got it right yesterday, didn't he? And it was a wise move. The subs were at the right time. You were even calling the subs. You were the guru yesterday. You were reading Frank's mind. They were clever subs. And do you know what? I look back at it as well. And what I really liked about it, remember we were having that discussion, do you take Paulinho off? He's on a yellow card. It's a risk. He had faith and trust in Paulinho. and others, and Kudus, who picked up a yellow card.
Bentancur, you know.
Exactly. Rather than taking them off to risk getting that red, he had faith that they'd be disciplined and not sacrificing them just because of that yellow card, and maybe they'll get a suspension. I think he handled the game magnificently yesterday.
Yeah, and that is something that you've got to give a lot of credit to Frank to instill that quite as quickly as he has. Is impressive. And as we were saying, the fluidity, slow surely in the front line seems to be there. The back line seems to be well assured. And yes, there are games where we're giving out a few chances, but you know, we're not like a perfect defensive team yet. But the difference between last season and this season is fantastic. I like the way he's rotating as well. I like the way he's rotating, keeping things fresh. But it's not like wholesale changes. It's like 2 or 3 players just to keep things a bit fresh, you know, get fresh legs, but also keeping like a core team where we kind of know the starting players for certain positions. And I think that is keeping the team fresh. And I think at the moment, obviously, the injuries, you know, we started the season with quite a big list, but it seems to be wilting down at the moment, and I think he's doing a good job from that point of view. Obviously, it is still early days. We're in October, so, you know, a lot of that can change, but I think the way he's rotating the team has been really good as well.
Can I just add to that as well? Correct me if I'm wrong, and you're going to be the right person to do this. I think all the injuries we've picked up have been via training. There hasn't been a substitution that's costed us an actual injury. I know Danso got his knock on the head, but until in the Doncaster game went off, but he was having a poor game. But I don't think there's been. You look at the Kulusevskis, which was obviously before Frank came, the Solankis, the players that are on that list. I don't think any of those injuries have actually come from actually pulling up in the game like we were having with the hamstrings last season, because of the rotation, because of the resting. Yes, sometimes people said, well, why have you done this for this game or whatever? But the most important thing for us to do well this season, or at least till January, is to keep the key players fit and available for the games. I mean, obviously, you look at the Bodo game with Simmons and Kudus out. Maybe that was a wrong move because we need those players to have a huge impact. But they can come on and make an impact from the bench. Doesn't mean they don't have an impact to play. So I admire what he is doing in doing that. And hopefully, come Christmas and everything, when the games are thick and fast, they will be fit enough and revitalised enough to say, right, we can handle this Christmas period and all these games coming up in these 4 competitions.
Yeah, and you've got to remember as well, hopefully soon we'll have Moani back, Solanke back, maybe in a month or 2's time, Kulusevski back. That's some firepower. That's going to be coming back into the team, and I'm sure Frank is really looking forward to the opportunity of using those players, because as much as the attackers at the moment, you know, they're doing what they can, they could really do with some help, I think, with some of the firepower that's missing.
Yeah, we're 100%. I mean, you look at it, Kulusevski for his energy, his power, and we know when he's on song, he can be unstoppable. To have him coming back, let's say Christmas, New Year, that's a massive thing to have. You look at the other players. So, like, I for once, like I said yesterday, think this international break has come at a real key time. It will give Frank and his coaching staff time to evaluate and see what they achieved during the gaps in this international period. They can reflect on what maybe got wrong or what they need to correct and pay attention to. Plus, it gives Moani and Solanke, 2 of the players we desperately need back to help that front line, nearer to being in action for Spurs. I think Moani will be ready for Villa.
Yeah, he should be. He said, you know, he's getting over that dead leg. He's trained 2 days. Maybe we'll start to see Kota Takai.
I completely forgot about him.
He's been out for 10 days.
Yep.
Dragoshin, he's been training with the team as well for a while. And he's been on the pitch with the first team. I know he's had an ACL, so you've got to be careful with him. But he's been with the first team for now. It must be at least 2 or 3 weeks that I've seen him in training, in those training videos, training with the first team. So clearly they're being very careful with him. But I don't think it'll be too long before he's an option as well. So very soon, I think, hopefully we only get more injuries. Very soon, it might just be Madders out.
I mean, you look at it as well, completely forgot about the defenders. If you look at it, let's say he needs to give Van der Ven or Romero a rest. He could easily go to a back 3 with one of them, with Danso and Dragoshin. the options are opening up for him. We've seen what he can do with a squad that are missing these key players and the depth. Just imagine what he can do when the depth is there, plus what he gets in January. It's honestly, like I said, I have never been as positive as a Tottenham Hotspur fan as I am right now, from top to bottom with this football club. The coaching staff, Justin Cochrane actually tweeted something yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was just saying how well things are going. We still need to get better, but what a period this has been between the international breaks. Things are going great. Let's strive to get better. And it's just wonderful. The social media at Tottenham has got better. The YouTube interviews and just everything at the club right now is things to be very
Smelling
excited
of
about.
roses.
Mate, honestly. And when you hear me, of all people, saying these kind of things, I have never been so excited. I'm including the Pochettino. I am so excited for the future.
Yeah, we're in a very good position. Obviously, at the time of this recording right now, Palace are playing. I think they just went 1-0 up against Everton, so they go above us. But we're in currently in fourth at the moment. You know, we're in a considering. I know we've had fairly kind fixture list at the beginning of the season, but you know, new manager, a lot of new players to integrate into the team, a different kind of playing style. You know, considering all the things Frank has had to deal with, all the change, all the upheaval in the hierarchy and stuff like that, I think he's doing a really great job just to kind of give us a bit of stability in this time where, you know, it could be easy to be just a bit unstable. You know, right now you've seen it with Chelsea and Man United when they've had a lot of upheaval up the top. You know, a lot of change. It's led to a lot of instability on the pitch, and these things trickle down. They do, and I think Frank has done a really good job. Like in this kind of period where there's been a lot of change in the club, a lot of things happening. He's been part of that change.
Yep.
But he's just in this moment added this stability for the time being on the pitch, making sure we're getting good results, putting stable performances, and then he's putting in the foundations and the building block to having a really solid team.
He has. I mean, let's first of all start from the top. You look at it, since all the change, and this is even before Levy left, I believe, Romero signed his contract. I'm sure he knew what was going to be happening or whatever, but we all knew or felt that his firing shot when Frank was appointed and everything was going to be a problem. He could be on the way out. He's committed to his future. There just seems like a whole changing of the guard of things at Tottenham Hotspur right now. And like you said, Frank has come in and you look at it, he's had to deal with a lot. Like, he's come in and the longest chairman in football or Premier League recent history has left the football club. There's been wholesale changes at the board. There has been a lot of things going on at Tottenham, and he has dealt with this remarkably well. And people will say that he gets off to a slow start at Brentford and Bromby. Well, if this is him getting off to a slow start, and you, like I said, you just look at it, and we're doing this at the moment without playing the great, incredible, stylish, free-flowing football. Like I said, without a recognised, established first-choice left winger, without a killer striker, and things. Just imagine if he can get those two. Imagine if Mawani does start firing and is that key to a ruthless striker. And imagine if we can get a game changer of a left winger, or at least a very effective, high-quality left winger that's got bags of potential or has proven it. I think Spurs are in a really, really good shout for Champions League spot and in a very, very good position for the upcoming seasons underneath Thomas Frank.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see, look, it's very, like, I'm not saying definitive yet, but I think we're starting to see Odegaard and Tell start to perform a little bit better than they have been, starting to get a little bit more consistency in their game. They're starting to, provide for the team. And if we can just keep improving them, week by week, game by game, and getting more out of them, we could have two very, very good players on our hands. And I think there's no better manager to get that out of them than Thomas Frank.
Yep.
So I think we've just got to be a bit more patient with them. But, Tell got his first goal. Odegaard is starting to start games a lot more regularly and starting to look more threatening.
Yep.
What I like about Odegaard, as I've said, is, if you remember that there was one moment in the game yesterday which I think just tells the difference between Odegaard and Johnson. And if you remember the the chance that Kudus had, where
Yep.
a doggy's flying down the left, he cuts it back for Kudus and he blazed over. That came because in build-up, Odebear comes short to it.
Yep.
A doggy plays it short to him. Odebear then turns his man, holds the ball, is composed. He then turns his man, sees a doggy, has continued his run down the left-hand side, and he played a beautiful, with his
Incredible.
left foot, ball in behind, over the top for the on-running a doggy, and that set up the chance. Now, Johnson just... I'm not even saying Johnson's not capable of that. He just doesn't look for those things.
Mm-hmm.
He's very more concentrated on just little short layoffs, and he's not he doesn't connect with other players very well. He's not much of a. He likes to be on the end of moves. He doesn't like to be involved in the build-up of those moves. Whereas Odebear, he links up with the other players a lot better, and that pass was just tells me the difference between those two players. He's looking for those passes. He's able to pull it off. He's able to link with the fullback, and it's no surprise to me that a doggy looks so much better when Odebear is there. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, Odebear, obviously we saw it against Doncaster how ruthless he was, and obviously it's only Doncaster to get the assist and how direct he was. Well, I think yesterday he showed a bit more to do exactly that, where we've been lacking that. And obviously it makes a huge difference with Destiny on that flank. It makes such a difference. And that's not saying that Spence is doing bad. It's just what Destiny offers that's different to Spence. And Odebear started showing bits and pieces. We obviously saw that bit before Tell's goal, where you and I both thought when he was one-on-one with a couple of defenders, but he checked in rather than taking that shot, which he needs to grow a bit more confidence. But the balance of the team is starting to settle and look more effective, isn't it, from all parts of the pitch?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that is really encouraging. We're starting to develop certain dynamics on the pitch. We're starting to build those relationships, and I think once in given time, that is going to stand us in really good stead going down the line with Thomas Frank, because that's what he bases his whole system and the way he manages and the way he sets up his team. It's all about relationships between players.
Yep.
And getting players to complement each other's strengths and weaknesses, and getting each player to understand each other. And I think that takes time, and I think that's going to take a bit more time. And I think he's doing a really good job in the meantime, while those things aren't quite there yet. He's built a bit of a foundation in the defence, midfield, just to make us very solid, making sure we're not conceding sloppy goals. At the moment, the goals we're conceding, a lot of them come down to a bit of luck or sloppiness. We're not getting opened up too much, is my point. There was maybe one goal you can say in recent games. There you go.
Sorry, all this Thomas Frank talk. There we go.
Love it. I think the only goal you can really say is in recent games that's come from a team really opening us up. I know Bodo happened and we weren't great on that day, but in the Premier League, I think you look at the Minter goal where they completely opened us up and got in behind us. But apart from that, it's very few times are we really conceding because we've been really opened up. A lot of times it's from lucky deflections or a mistake from Vicario or stuff like that. I think he's cut out a lot of the sloppy and soft goals that we were conceding.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, with that Minte goal, that was the closest of close offsides. That wasn't just an error, wasn't it? That was, when you looked at it on the automated, we are talking fractions, but it still counts. I think what we've got to look at with that is you look at the shape we had at 2-1 yesterday with just a few minutes to go. You could see that shape. We were so tight and so deep. And what you got to mention as well as we mentioned about how open we were defensively last season, a lot of that had to do with our midfield was like a hot knife through butter. It was just null and void a lot of the times, and shows just how important a Paulinho is in modern day football. He has made a massive difference to relieving some of the pressure off that defence, as well as Bentancur in games, and yesterday I think he had a good one. And it's just, you look at Tottenham now structurally and tactically and shape-wise, it is night and day. And Frank deserves a lot of credit for it, but as I keep alluding to, his backroom staff that have come in are the perfect backroom staff. Every person has a designated job to do. There's no overlapping or miscommunication. There's cohesion. There's an understanding between defence and attack. It's just a very exciting coaching team and backroom staff, as much as it is Frank, and the whole of them deserve enormous credit.
Absolutely. And look, it was a good win yesterday. We got the 3 points. Tough ground to go in the pouring rain as well.
Yep.
It was, could have been easy to slip up, but we made sure we got the job done. We're going to be in the top 4 over this international break, and I think there's tougher tests and tougher games to come.
Yep.
But we've already seen under Frank, he can get us in. He can get us even against good teams to go toe to toe with them. He can come up with a plan for the PSG game, the Man City game. He can come up with plans to really give as good as we get in those kind of games. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how we do. But look, it's a positive to get back to winning ways, because some of the performances recently and results, starting to worry a few fans and starting to think, okay, what's going on here? Why are performances and results, why are they starting to, decline a bit? So I think it was important we just got back on track yesterday and got that win over the line, and also did it, playing some nice football. Got Kudus and Tel their first goals of the season as well.
Yep.
So that's crucial. That gets them on the board and up and running for the season. So yeah, I think everyone's in a positive mood at the moment, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, just and also, like you said, to finally go into an international break and not have to dwell on a defeat and look into things. And like we said, when we come back from this international break, will be our biggest test. Champions League games, the Newcastle game, games against Chelsea, and the Filth, and Villa, and some big teams. I mean, Frank's record against Chelsea is better than ours in our entire Premiership record. I mean, he is very good at Stamford Bridge, and he's won a couple, I believe, at home. So I go into the Chelsea game thinking we can do it. The Filth, I'm confident. I go into every. I wouldn't say I'm at Pochettino levels in his last season. That Lane was like, we're winning this game, we're winning this game. But I have faith in what he's doing, trust in the team he puts out and the lads. And like you said, it's just a good place to be in right now compared to what we've had to endure over past seasons.
Absolutely. Well, look, that is kind of the match review. Was more about, I guess, Frank and how and the tenure so far. But obviously, we got the win yesterday against Leeds, and that is the match review for yesterday's win. As Spurs are in 4th place at the moment. We've got some half-time scores at the moment in the Premier League. It's Aston Villa 1, Burnley 0. Everton 0, Palace 1. So that unbeaten run looks set to continue at the moment, unless Everton can turn it around in that second half. Newcastle 0, Forest 0. So no goals in that game so far. A bit of a surprise. And Wolves 1, Brighton 0.
We've kick-started Wolves' career season.
We have absolutely given them the confidence. We did it to Palace last season.
You're welcome.
Remember Palace didn't win. I think won a losing streak last season. And then they played us one, and then they didn't look back. I think after they beat us, they were in the top 4. If you go from that moment to the end of the season,
I think what we've got to do then, Wolves should say thank you very much, Tottenham. You gave us our mojo back. We'll let you win when we come to Molineux next. Although I highly doubt it.
All right, so let's get into some